Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of SEPA Paranormal Chronicles. Today, I have got a guy who's got a bit of a funny accent, even worse than mine. I have with me the Bishop Robbie Crossan. He is the exorcist for the Independent Catholic Ministry. We're not going to talk about Star Trek. We're not going to talk about Star Wars. We're just going to talk about this, Robbie. So, welcome, my friend. How are you?
Upset now you're not talking about Star Trek.
I knew you'd say something like that.
Bye.
Yeah. Sort of like we were just talking about Star Trek and stuff offline. But anyway, if you do go now, I'm not going to get you that autograph that I promised I'd get you. So
Okay, I'll stay. I promise I'll stay.
yeah, see, this is what's called blackmail. Okay, so you are a bishop and an exorcist for the Independent Catholic Ministry.
Yeah.
Let's start right at the very beginning. Why did you decide to go to become a bishop? Let's start right back at the beginning.
Right, well, if you want to go right back at the beginning, it would be long before I decided to be a priest. Ever since I was a child, I've always had imaginary friends. But bear in mind, everybody's born with abilities, so those friends aren't imaginary. But what happens is you get older, you're told to grow up at your age, peer pressure hits you, so you start going out more and ignoring like the voices and like the shadows round about you. But I never had anybody tell me to grow up at my age, and I never really liked going out with big crowds of people anyway. So I got to keep my abilities. Then when I was about 13, an event happened. It was witnessed by family members. Then I found out a day later the same like the same apparition appeared next to and like a child neighbour's like a neighbour's daughter, I should say. So that's when I realised it wasn't imaginary. So I started being a Scotsman. I had to like spending money, so I went to the library to get the books because back then there was no internet, there was no TV shows, no social media. So I self-taught myself everything on the paranormal. Got every book I could. Spent 2 years studying. Then when I was about 15, me and a couple of friends went out. Um, I made a Ouija board using a cereal box. Just wrote names on, letters on it, and numbers. Stole one, well, not stole, borrowed one of my dad's shot glasses without telling him, and used that as a planchette. Had a torch, a little really basic voice recorder, like back in the 80s. They were like that size and took about 12 batteries. And I made dowsing rods out of just two bits of bent copper pipes. And we went to the local graveyard and we were starting to get responses. And I was like, cool, I want to keep doing this. So I started researching more. And the more I was researching, the more I was realising there were certain things I could do but no one else could do. Then people were asking me, oh, can you do past life regressions? And I thought about it. I went, actually, let's try, see what works. And I was getting result after result after result. And to this day, I'm still doing them for people. Then I was able to transfer my abilities onto other people so they could see what I could see. So basically, you could be in a room and I'd do what I do, then all of a sudden you'd be standing in the same location, but you could see the building the way it was when it was being used, and you could see people walking about doing their jobs or doing their daily routines.
Wow. So, and what age were you when you could
I
that
was
kind of thing?
That kind of stuff started between the ages of 15 and 18. So by the time I got to 18, I grew up in a really strict Catholic background. My gran went to church every single day, twice in holidays obligation. So as soon as I made my first communion, she had me set up to be an altar boy. So I did that for basically 10, 12 years. And by the end of that, I knew word for word everything a priest would do for every type of service. So I thought, well, it's a job for life. So I entered seminary school, but the more I learnt about Roman Catholic theology, doctorate, um, canon laws, Vatican laws, cardinal laws, the more I realised it was like a secret man society and I wanted nothing to do with that. So I left that after about 2 years and I joined the Independent Catholic Church. Completed my training with them, which only took another 2 years. Then I was ordained a deacon in 1994. So a day after I was made a deacon, the Archbishop pulled us into the office and went, right, we know what you can do. I went, what do you mean, you know what I can do? And he went, well, we do background reports on everybody. We don't just let anybody come through the doors. So I was like, right, so what do you want me to do then? Do you want me to leave? And he went, no, we want you to be an exorcist. And I, without a blink of an eye, went, no thanks, I've seen that film. And he just burst out laughing. And he went, you've not got a choice, you've been given a gift, you need to use that gift to protect people. So after about 10 minutes of thinking about it, I went, right, fair enough, I'll do it. So I shadowed an exorcist while I was still training to be a priest for 3 years. So I did exorcism study as well as priestly studies for that 3 years. Then I was ordained, then let loose to the public. And so I did that for about 20 years. Then I was ordained a bishop. And now I'm head of the ministry because
Wow.
all the other bishops have died off. So I'm the youngest one left, kind of thing.
And that is like a fascinating story. Yeah, the fact that I've seen that movie too. I know exactly which one you're referring to. But what was going through your mind when he said, "I want you to be an exorcist"? Because you said that you spent 10 minutes thinking about it.
It was the fact,
But
like, just I kept thinking of this, like, pea green soup getting splattered all over me. And I was like, I don't want to be a part of that. But thankfully, that's never happened.
so before you were told, let's not you weren't asked, you were told
Yeah,
that
I
you were
was
going to
told.
be that you were going to be an exorcist. And of what you know now, but we're going to go into more detail in a bit. How does your thoughts on how you thought it was going to be to how it is, how different were they?
Actually, not that different, to be honest with you. Apart from the spinning heads, I've never seen anyone levitate. Again, I've never seen anybody spew sick over me. But apart from that, by the book, everything's the same. I mean, there's roughly, how do you explain it? There's about 400 years worth of excellent documented case notes. I mean, the exorcists we know today first started in the 1600s by St Benedict. He wrote the rule book on exorcisms. So every exorcist goes by that standard format, and so because of that, we've got to keep exact case notes. We've got to explain everything that's happened, everything that's going on, everything that was said and done. So you can basically read back in those case notes when you're studying to be an exorcist, and it always follows the same type of pattern.
Wow. And it's so when I first started doing this a few years ago, well, I'd had an interest for a long time, but I thought I would kind of go into the background of what it entailed and the fact that if people ask you questions, they expect you to provide an answer. So I wanted to be able to provide these answers if people ask me these questions.
Yeah,
So we have a company over here run by a friend of mine who does online courses, and it's like ghosts and hauntings and poltergeists and cryptids.
yeah,
And one of the courses that I did was an introduction to demonology, but it wasn't like it wasn't the Exorcist kind of demon. It was what is it, what it is really compared to what you see on TV,
yeah,
and that kind of stuff. And there's a father that came uh, onto the course by the name of Bob Bailey. Don't know if you know him. He's in the US, and he's a retired Catholic priest as well. And he was telling us what it was like from a a priest's point of view. So a lot of people, and you've already mentioned, they go into they expect to have green soup all over them. They expect to see people levitating off a bed. They expect to see a spinning head. But what does an exorcism actually? What does it mean to start off with, and how do you interpret that word compared to what people's opinions
Right.
are?
Well, the easiest way is to explain from start to finish the actual process. Not every case is an exorcism, needs an exorcism, only maybe about 1%. So for every 100 cases that gets passed through my door, only one of those will be an exorcism. So we've got to scrutinise everything. So to start with, say for instance you contact me and say so and so might be possessed, like your wife might have, like you think your wife's possessed by a demon, we would ask you and her like a standard block of 100 questions to get a rough idea of what's going on. Then we would interview any family members or friends to see if they've witnessed anything. Then we'd ask you to release your medical reports to us to see if you're a wee bit loopy. Some people have got medical conditions that cause them to hallucinate, or people may be on medication that causes these type of problems as well. Even recreational drugs. I mean, people that take certain types of happy things, or even certain alcohols can cause the problems. So we've got to debunk absolutely everything. We've also got to do background reports on your property, any property you've lived in, the land your property's on. We've got to do like personal history on you as well to make sure you've not done anything stupid, like played with a Ouija board when you were younger. And because in the paranormal world, the other side doesn't have the same timeline as we do. We go by like a certain 24-hour clock and it only goes one direction. I mean, in their realm, I call it spaghettified. It's like there's no past, present, future. Everything's rolled into one and mangled up. So you could speak to a ghost today and they would remember you speaking to them, but you've no memory. Then in a year's time, you contact them again and they've got no memory of contacting you, but you've got memory of contacting them because the timelines are all messed up. So we've got to work out exactly what's going on. So, as I said, about 90% of people, the cases get closed straight away because they've got something wrong with them that's mental and not spiritual. There's roughly about 10% of cases where it's just a basic house cleansing because something's followed them home or something's been in the property when you've bought it. Then, as I said, there's that one case where you can, we've got to whittle it down because what we've got to do is look at the person, see how they're acting as well, because certain movements and suggestions tell you there's something not quite right with them. Like some cases, people start twitching really badly and their bodies will start contorting. Their eyes will start even changing colour or changing shape. You'll see like their face changing shape, like something's trying to come out their body. Like for instance, if you stare at a mirror, eventually you'll see a different face forming around yours. So we can physically see that as well coming through the person's physical face.
So I know that, obviously you've done this for a little bit longer than my 4-week course. So I'm going to abide by what you say. But how true is it that if it is a genuine possession,
Yeah,
that the let's just call it an entity for want of an easy expression. I don't like using the D word too much.
yeah, because not all D words can enter a body. It could be a nasty
Correct.
ex-human.
Exactly. So, how true is it that the fact that they say that a stereotypical exorcism, the body can contort into ways that it can't normally do it,
Yeah,
and then the person has no recollection of that afterwards. They come out with personal information that only you would know, and they speak in a foreign or unrecognized tongue.
Yep, I've had
Let's
all
just
that.
say, yeah.
I've had,
So, oh,
I
go
was
on,
just
sorry.
about to say, my last case, I had all those three things in the one person.
So, all those are, I'm going to use the term gospel. I'm talking to a bishop. I'm going to use the term gospel. So, they are the gospel truth of a stereotypical
Yeah,
possession.
yeah. They'll know things they're not supposed to know. They'll start speaking the dead languages like Aramaic, Latin. I mean, I had one guy speaking in a, what was it? It was Irish. No, sorry, it was Welsh Gaelic, and he'd never been to Wales before in his life. Which was confusing because we didn't find that out until after, because we record we record everything we do. We do video recordings, we do audio recordings to make sure we've got everything logged. And it wasn't until about a week later somebody went, "He's actually speaking in Welsh."
Wow. So, the wife just got somebody at the door. That was what was distracting me.
Um,
So, yeah. So, when I did my course, they were saying that the Roman Catholic Church, when they introduce priests into to become exorcists, that one of the first courses that they kind of put them on is to recognize mental health.
yeah, you've got, as I said, 90% of the cases are all mental health. So you've got to know what you're dealing with, because you don't want to go in to do an exorcism if one doesn't need done. That's like, an exorcism is the last resort. It's like, if nothing else can be done, then it's got to be that. So we're trained on like basic mental health strategies, so we can look for like body language, how they present themselves, how they talk to other people around about them. I mean, we study them for weeks and sometimes months at a time before we'll even go to their door. Because of like video chatting now, like we're doing, it's a lot easier to communicate with people. You don't need to keep travelling every day to go and see them. So you can speak to them every day through video chat.
And yeah, let's just use the movie Exorcist as an example. I know it's Hollywood, but
It was loosely based on a true story.
loosely,
Very loosely.
yeah. But during a possession, the individual can be absolutely 100% normal 1 minute, and then, like the flip of a coin, they can be evil, vindictive, and that how you kind of seen it as well?
Yeah, yeah. And it's physical things as well. And for instance, I do a couple of little tests on people. I won't say what they are here, because then in case somebody watching this can turn around and try and fake what they've been possessed. But there's a few things I'll do before I'll start the exorcism, then I'll repeat it after the exorcism to see if I get the same results.
Yeah,
So
and I can actually relate to that because I spent my time in England as a paramedic, and we had people that were faking seizures just to get public attention.
yeah,
And
so
we used to kind of do two things. We used to flick the eyelash, and if it flickered, the person was not unconscious; they were faking it. But one of the most funny ones was to lift the hand and put it over the face, and if it dropped to the side, they obviously
you're
didn't want to get
conscious.
smacked in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that the kind of similar thing that you're getting at?
Well, we do physical things, but I've got other tests as well using different types of, I can only say, objects.
Right. Okay.
What I'll do is they don't know what the objects are, so I'll let them hold them to see what happens. And if I get a reaction, then it's possibly possession. If I don't get a reaction, then you know it's not a possession.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah, and
there's like
I
three
can kind
different
of
things.
I can kind of guess what those objects are now that you've said that.
Well,
So
one of them we know. I can guarantee one is a religious object and it's been blessed, but I'm not telling you what the other two are.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was getting at. You can
Yeah.
probably guess that. Yeah. So let's go back to your very first genuine one. Obviously, yes, you've had the training, but this is your first real confirmed exorcism. So, what was going through your mind, and how did you feel going into that location, for want of a word, and then how did you feel afterwards?
It's the same reaction for every case I take up. How do I explain this in words that everybody would understand? You're basically baking bricks, but you can't show you're baking bricks, if that makes any sense.
I do have that explicit thing checked. So if you want to, I know you're a bishop, but if you want to curse, feel
No,
free.
I won't. But you're, you're basically filling your tenor ladies in like big
Yeah,
boy pants, but you can't physically show you're doing that.
yeah.
So, as I said, the first sign of weakness, they will jump on that. So, you need to hold all your emotions back until you basically get out that property. Because any case, like, can be your last. You can walk in and you're having to be carried out a little black box.
So I am kind of going down the road that, like I say, because of the stressful situation, it's probably not unknown for you guys to actually break down afterwards because of all the stress.
Well, basically, we for about 2 or 3 days before we go to a case, we go into prayer for that full 3 days. And some people do longer, some people do it shorter. But once the case is finished with, the first thing I do is head home, go for a shower, then like I have a few shots of whiskey to try and calm my nerves.
And you're a Scottishman as well, so that's part of the course normally, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, it's like it'll be more than I normally take in an average week. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And
So go on, carry on.
but
Sorry.
again, it's not once the case isn't finished. Once you leave the house, you've got to constantly follow up for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, contacting the person on a regular basis just to make sure they're okay as well, because it's not just you and your team. You've got to worry about mental health. It's the family and the person that needed your help. You've got to make sure, but they're mentally fine afterwards as well.
which, which makes sense. So you've already mentioned about preparation. So when you decide that you are going to do an exorcism and you're committed to ridding the person of whatever's attached to them, how long does that typically last for the practice of doing the exorcism?
So the final part, which is the exorcism, there's not a set time. You can have it done in an hour. It could take 6 hours. It could take 6 days, 6 weeks. It can even take years. It just depends how stubborn this thing is that's inside them, and you've got to keep fighting and fighting and whittling it down. So, I've got now where if it has to be done, we'll do it in shifts. So we'll have like 4 exorcists with 4 separate teams, and each team does like a 6 hour shift, and it'll be like that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until it's out the door.
That was basically going to be my next question of like, yeah, how do you plan that? But that the way that you've just explained it, that kind of tells me, yeah, that you're committed to doing it and you're not going until
It's gone.
it's gone.
Yeah.
So you have to do it constantly. You can't take a break because then you're going back to
Well,
square one.
so what we do, as I said, just say like after the 5.5 hours, I'm like constantly praying and trying to get it out. The other team comes in, and the bishop or the exorcist, I should say, sorry, will start reading at the same passage I'm reading, and we'll do that for half an hour. Then once he's got his like mantra going, my team can leave and his team take over. Then when he's at the 5.5 hours or she's at the 5.5 hours, the next group comes in and just repeats. Then we just keep doing that and doing that and doing that until somebody goes, well, hey, it's gone.
I wish you hadn't put it that way. But it's not like, yeah, woo, woo. So that's basically what I was going to ask next. How do you know when it's gone?
You can see the person changing. They get back to who they, well, to start with, the person basically flops in the chair or the bed or whatever, and you can physically see a weight lifting from their shoulders. They feel more, you can see them becoming more calm. Their colour starts coming back to their cheeks and their face. They start becoming more coherent and they start and speak to you normally. Then again, as I said, the test I do at the start, we do it again at the end to see if we get the same results. And every time the results are different, which means it's gone.
So the fact that you started at the beginning of the show to say that you had imaginary friends, as you put it, when you've been doing your exorcisms, have you ever seen that presence leave the body, like physically, or is it something that's
I've not
invisible,
physically
so to
seen
speak?
anything, but you can definitely smell it leave, if that makes any sense. It's like the the person's got like when a person's possessed, they've got like a scent. Even when they breathe, it's like like a vile sickly smell. And once it's gone, the room starts like becoming scent free again.
Okay, and yeah, and obviously that's not just halitosis. That someone that's got bad breath. So
Yeah,
if this person is being their normal self, but you still know that they possessed, is that smell still present?
it's you can physically see it in their bodies in the way they talk. They're not 100% themselves. Maybe 90%, 95%. That's only because we can the whatever's there. Just because we can't physically hear it or see its presence doesn't mean it's to say it's not there. It just may be too weak, and that person's now got back control of their body. But if you were to go after a few days, that entity or whatever you want to call it can recharge itself and reattack.
Okay, so I just want to go back again to your imaginary friends. So there's obviously that you've got some kind of mediumistic skills. So, and this is going to sound really weird coming out of my mouth. Do you ever get any help from your imaginary friends? Like, if you've got spirits there, do they kind of support you?
I believe, well, through prayer, we do have like the Almighty Father God will send people, well, people send his team to come and assist us. That I do believe. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But you can feel a presence around you, like a veil, a protection. But again, it depends how strong you are and how strong compared to how strong this entity is. It's a basically it's a mental battle of wills, and it's not like a physical battle. It's a battle of spiritual beliefs. Your faith has to be undoubtedly strong to be able to beat
Yes,
it.
because obviously it's the Catholic Church and connections that do the exorcism. But have you ever been involved with any other faiths like the Jinn for that
No,
kind of stuff, or it's just the normal
it's
Catholic?
for me. It's I've only ever been trained in the Catholic rites of exorcism, but I know people of other faiths. So if someone from a faith was to contact me from a different faith, it wasn't Christian, and says, "Oh, I need help," unless that person believes Christ is their saviour and Lord and Master, I can't help them. If they don't believe in Christ, then I can't help them. So I've got to basically contact someone who's close to their faith to assist them, because I don't know how to deal with that.
But kind of makes sense because it kind of comes across as different training. It's like you
Yeah,
can speak one language and you speak to people. If you're bilingual, you can speak to a different language. You're speaking to other people. It's the same
yeah.
kind of thing.
It's just with different faiths have got different ways of dealing with it.
Yeah. So,
And it's
oh, go on.
the reason we use the faith part of it is because the person's got to have the same faith as you, because you've got to convince them what their faith is going to beat what's inside them. And if you don't know how to deal with their faith, then you don't know how to get their mind into that mindset.
Okay, so for somebody like myself, and please don't frown when I say this, that doesn't go to church on a regular basis,
Right?
I would not have a Catholic priest. I would have somebody of a non-Catholic.
It depends what religion do you regard yourself as.
Well, it's just Church of England, all the
Well,
normal, And
Church of England technically has apostolic succession, and the word Catholic just means universal. So at one point, the Church of England were under like Roman Catholic jurisdiction, so they still celebrate some of the Roman Catholic traditions, the same as my church does. I mean, your church left Rome in the 1500s, mine's left Rome in the 1800s.
okay, gotcha. So during these exorcisms that you've encountered, have you ever felt that your life was in danger?
Only once, and that was about 13, 14 years ago. I thought to myself, I'm not getting out of here. But I still, because I had a duty, like I swore an oath to protect people. I swore an oath to serve people. When you're ordained, you've got to basically do this whole prayer speech about how you're going to serve God, you're going to shepherd His flock, you're going to look after His flock, and a shepherd would basically die to protect his sheep.
So, what kind of situation was it that made you think that you weren't getting out of there alive?
Well, the person, they started shaking violently to the point where their physical strength became really, really bad. And a couple of people I was with started getting scratch marks. Like a couple of team members were getting scratch marks. One had scratch marks on their legs, one had scratch marks on their back, one was scratched on their neck, and it was like three big claw marks going all the way down. And again, the same happened with a different team. When was it? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. And close to close to Doncaster.
Okay.
When I was at a case there. But the scratch marks weren't as bad. But again, we managed to weaken it to the point that it just gave up and left.
Yeah, so I'm not dealing with this Scottish dude anymore. I'm out of here. So it's interesting, and I tell people a lot that when you see some of these TV shows, that when somebody gets scratched, they automatically think that it's an evil entity, a malevolent force. But my theory is that if a spirit is trying to get your attention and it can't get your attention, if it kind of like if I see you in the street and you don't hear me, I'm going to tap you on the shoulder, yo, Robbie. But obviously, a spirit can't do that. So the connection that the spirit has with a human could be that spiritual energy that's causing the marks and the
Well,
scratches.
it could be any type of mark, but if it's three scratches, that's normally associated with demonic. It's an insult to the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Spirit. So that's where the three comes in.
So this is going to sound really stupid, but I'm allowed to say stupid things. So if it's one scratch or two, you wouldn't necessarily say it was demonic.
No,
It's the three
if it's
definitive.
If it's like one or two, four, five or six, then you don't bother. But when it's three, that's when you think to yourself, that could be, there's a high chance it is. But no, every time you get scratched, for instance, I was at a normal investigation. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still human. I still like getting out and doing things. So a group of us went to a castle about 2 hours from here, and we were in like a medieval type of kitchen. And one of the ladies was sitting in a chair, and she could feel like a warm sensation in her arm. I don't know if I showed you the photo. She was feeling a warm sensation in her arm. So I did what I did to get rid of it. Then as soon as it left her and she felt okay, like my sister-in-law started feeling like she was getting choked, like throttled. So I dealt with that. I got rid of that. Then as soon as I get rid of that, I started feeling burning in my arm. Lifted up my shirt and I had burn marks right up my forearm, just at my shoulder. And it wasn't until after, like, I got rid of that, obviously, but after like, about halfway through the night after that, we found out by just looking at different things around where the castle was used as a prison at one point, and like in the dungeons, or like where the foundations are, there's like little caverns, and apparently before the 1500s, if you were a Protestant, you were basically thrown in there. Then after the 1500s, if you were Catholic, you were thrown in there, and punishment was either hanging or burnt at the stake if you didn't convert. So then I'm thinking to myself, hold on, one person gets strangled and the other two get burnt.
So it wasn't necessarily a negative energy per se.
It could
It
have been
could have
something
been,
telling us, I'm
yeah,
here, I need help.
interesting.
So once I
So
got that, once I got that, that but that burn mark, I thought to myself, well, you know, if you leave an investigation with a trophy, you need to get back. So I'm booking myself back to go to it again.
just to see what happens.
Yeah,
That's called being a glutton for punishment, I believe.
it's not. It's just like making sure it wasn't a one-off.
Well, that's it, and that's part and parcel of your job. Yeah, if
Yeah,
somebody gets evidence at one location, you go back to try to replicate that evidence to
yep,
see
and
if you
that's
can get the
exactly what I
same
want
thing
to do.
again.
I want to try and replicate it.
So I'm going to put you on the spot now. If you thought that you had an attachment or you were experiencing the start of what you thought was a possession, how would you deal with it?
I would contact one of the people I know that are exorcists, and I'll go, "Come and deal with me.
Sim-
You never fight your own battles. You get other people to do it for you."
yeah. So it and that kind of brings me along. It wouldn't be possible for you to fight your own battle per se.
I don't know. I've never tried, but you're always wanting backup.
Yeah,
You don't go out to you don't go out to a battle with people with knives and you take flowers with you. You want to be like kitted up as much as possible as well.
yeah. So one of the things that I didn't speak about at all. They spoke about on the course, and you're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. And if you don't, you're fired. Annalise Michelle. Are you familiar with this name?
She was one of the main people who was needed an exorcism, and it almost went dodgily wrong.
Yeah, she was German, from Bavaria, and her she actually died of malnutrition.
Yeah, while doing it.
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
case, how do you explain it? The Vatican, they didn't do the case properly. What they were doing is how do you explain it? They were praying that much. They didn't think about looking after her physical
Yeah.
well-being. They were just thinking about saving her soul and not her body. So basically, normally what happens if somebody's in that kind of state, we'll try and give them like little bits of food. We'll dampen their mouths with um like soaked pieces of um cotton wool to
Uh,
try and get them to drink.
yeah,
But the Vatican didn't do anything like that.
yeah. and that kind of puts forward the fact that this is why you work in teams, because you can be so engrossed in what you're doing, then one of your other team members can go, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
this is what we need to do, and they can kind of intervene while you're doing one thing. They can
yeah.
moisten the mouth and stuff
So
like that.
when I go into a case, there's myself who's the lead exorcist. I'll always have another exorcist with us, and they'll be the assistant exorcist. So if anything goes wrong, they can jump in and take over for me. Then I've got three investigators as well. So their job is just to watch the person to make sure, like, in case we miss anything. So as you said, if something happens to them, they can like hold them down or they can give them assistance. And one of the people's also got to have basic first aid training.
Yeah, because if the body's going to contort into you know ways and means that it's not designed to do, then once it's all over, you need to make sure that that person's
Yeah.
fit and
So
healthy to the best of their ability.
so like we've like my team, we've got mental health professionals or people that know about mental health. We've got people that know about first aid. Then you've got like the exorcists. Then everybody else chips in to do the basic and background investigation.
Yeah, I I just had a thought come into my head because I've got the medical background. You imagine a paramedic crew, an ambulance turning up, and you go, "Yeah, this person's got a broken arm because they've just been possessed," and you can imagine the crew going, I,
Yeah, but
I'm sorry, what?"
what happens then is the police. Normally you get the
Yeah,
little ninos and the police show up, but normally in that case we've got to involve authorities anyway.
yeah, for sure.
That's part. That's part of in the documents. We get people to sign stating what basically if anything does hit the fan, then we've got to get the authorities involved just for legal purposes.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense. So the fact that you're a believer of the paranormal because you've had experiences when you were young, and the fact that you've experienced things as an exorcist, are you a believer in not just goats, not just
But
not just ghosts and spirits, but are you a believer in the different entities like fairies and elementals and that kind of thing? Or what's your kind of
there's,
thoughts on those?
well, being Scottish, like all that kind of thing is bred into us from an early age, like stories,
Yeah,
mythology, and all that kind of thing. So there's like fairy ponds scattered throughout Scotland. Um, we've got um elementals like fire, wind, water, and earth. There is a kind of truth to that as well because they're all interconnected with one another. Through different like some like different religions call them different names, but at the end of the day, they're all interconnected with each other.
but you've just mentioned the thing that I can now get my own back. The fact that you've mentioned that you're Scottish and you're brought up. Which county are you now living in?
You have to say,
My
um,
home county.
um, Lincolnshire. That's only because like my wife's from this area and she wants to be close to her family.
So even though you're an exorcist, you are still under the thumb.
It's a different thumb though.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get involved in that argument.
But bear in mind, you end up with the same problem. You met somebody and moved countries as well.
I Okay, fair point. Get,
But
I,
can we swap
I don't,
countries?
I don't, I don't like you anymore. I've decided. So I was going to ask a really good question then, but I completely forgot it. So if somebody, I've just remembered, if somebody thinks that they've got an individual who they've already experienced the contortion of the body, or they've heard them speaking in a foreign tongue. You've already mentioned about the questionnaire. What would be that individual's next course of action? Are they going to go to their local priest, or are they going to reach out to you as individuals?
No, what happens is if what I'll do is I'll do the initial investigation. If I can get to the client's house, I'll go to the client's house. If not, I'll reach out to other people I know who live close enough to them, and I'll pass the case over to them, but I'll ask them to keep me in the loop so I know what's happening with it.
Yeah, because being, like I say, with a medical background, the medical profession, they I won't say that they disbelieve, but they think it's going to have a rational explanation.
Well, we've got to debunk everything, so it's only when it doesn't become rational that's when it becomes paranormal.
Yeah, but I can see it from a doctor's point of view. Oh, this person's schizophrenic, or
Yeah.
this person's this or the other.
Yeah, again, that's why it's like 99% of the cases don't end up as being investigated till the very end, because we also ask for people's medical histories,
Yeah.
and we don't just ask them. We'll say we need you to contact your doctors and release your full medical history to us, and a full psychological report as well.
So how many positive, if you can use that word, exorcisms have you actually carried out?
Thankfully, I've only did 8 in the last 29 years. 29 years? Yeah. Since 1997, so 29 years.
But how many have the independent Catholic ministry done in that time?
Again, we
So,
take, as I said, we get roughly about 100 cases passed through our door every single year, and only 8 of them have been confirmed exorcisms.
so I'm going to ask you the question that you probably get asked the most. Out of those 8, without giving away any details, which one of those stands out to you the most?
It's always your first one. It's like your first kiss, you always remember it. Or your first car. It's the very first case I was let loose on myself.
And you were baking bricks, as you put it.
Yep, and I bake bricks everyone I go to.
Yeah.
I don't care about anybody that says they're not scared when they walk through that door is lying. And if they're not lying, then they shouldn't be doing that job at all.
Yeah, and it's the same, because I say, I've spent time in the emergency services, and for people that are not nervous or apprehensive when they're going to a serious incident, they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, because it's you've got to have that fear factor to keep your senses awake.
Yeah,
Because without
and
that, you can make a mistake.
and it's really weird how, because of my my emergency service background, when I go on an investigation, I always make sure I've got a door or a window. Well, especially a door, not a window. But if I'm inside a building, I'll have my back to a solid wall, but I'll always be close to a door or window, so I've always got a direct exit.
It's the same. Any investigator should do the same. When you walk into a property, always know your surroundings and know where the nearest exit is.
Yeah. So let's go back to your favourite movie, just for a second.
Ghostbusters.
Yes, that one. The Wrath of Khan. Yeah. The girl in question was not very old. Is there a age limit of you or the ministry will not go below?
No, if somebody
Or
needs help, we are obligated to help. Thankfully, it's only been adults I've dealt with. I don't know how I would react if it was a child. I would probably like the baking of the bricks would probably double or triple,
for sure.
because you don't want that child to be in any type of harm whatsoever.
Which makes sense. So we are coming close to the end, but I love hearing your stories. But one thing that's quite popular, not in this side of the border, but definitely the other side of this border, is these people that go on road shows and do exorcisms live on stage.
Oh, they're not jobs.
Yeah.
Attention seekers, yeah. Um, there's a reason America's got the most asylums in the world, and it's for people like them.
Yeah, because I don't class myself as being an expert, but yeah, if you're walking down an aisle of a theatre or a hall or whatever, and then you just pick on some random dude and go, "You're possessed." It's like, and
These
it's not until then that they then start acting up, which
uh,
I find
these
highly
these
amusing.
people are a danger to society, and they're attention seekers, and they'll kind of prey on the weak-minded and the vulnerable just for sheer profit. It should be totally banned. I mean, there was one guy here. I'm not naming names, but he he would sell tickets for like a road show. So say he was in Hull or he was in Grimsby Auditorium, he would have a list of the names and addresses of everybody that bought tickets, because you've got to give your name and address to the what do you call it, the auditorium company. So he would get a list of names and addresses, randomly pick out seat numbers, find out where that person stayed. He would send his team to do an undercover survey. So they would ask like really silly questions, but the questions would give this person an insight to the family kind of background.
Yeah,
He would, through an earpiece, he would hear number six, so and so, his name, so they know this person, they know that person have done this, and he would go out their way to pick them up.
yeah. Because I was talking to a girl a few months ago who was planning to go to a high profile ish medium.
I don't agree with
So
stage mediums either.
yeah. So what she did, she created a dog from AI, posted it on her Facebook page as her pet dog, and then when she went to the location for the evening, they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, Robbie Crossan, welcome. Please come in," that kind of thing. And the medium actually stopped and asked her if she had a pet dog as a child, and she literally created it out of AI.
Yeah, it's because they're doing research. See, it's like you go to these places. I mean, in the olden days before computers, they would say, "Oh, is there anybody in here knows somebody called John?" Everybody knows a John.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So what I did is years ago, I changed the way I did mediumships. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I only do one on ones. But what I do is to stop me just giving basic random things. I can have you sitting in your chair. You would be able to see your loved one walking through a doorway towards you. They would sit beside you, stand beside you. You would smell their favourite aftershave or perfume. You would see them physically. You'd be able to feel their touch in your hand, and you can talk to them directly, and you can hear them answering you.
yeah. Because
So
I've
rather than
got
me giving the messages, I'm just sitting there like with my mouth shut, keeping the door open while you two are talking to each other in the same room.
yeah, I've got a friend who's a medium. She lives in the US, and she wanted to do a reading with me. So I said, "Yeah, sure." But I'm one of these people where I will not provide any information. Yeah,
Precisely, and I don't
yeah,
ask any information. Basically, what I say to you, right, invite the person in. I don't give any details to start with, so say invite the person in. You'll say so and so, please come in, and after a couple of seconds, you'll say, "Oh, I can smell such and such," and I'll go, What's that? No go, that's their aftershave. Then you would see a shadow coming towards you. That shadow would take human form. Then you would see their physical features. Then I would say to you, right, start talking to them. So you would talk to them the way you're talking to me. Then when they respond, you would hear them through your mind's ear.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And
So,
I'll
oh,
ask them to touch you. I'll say, right, I'm going to ask them something, but I'm going to think about the answer or think about the question. And I'll just say, right, can you just prove you're there by touching them on their right shoulder? But I won't say it out loud, I'll just think it. Then all of a sudden, you'll go on your right shoulder, like straight after it.
and that's the kind of evidence that people want.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I do it that way. To me, that way is more personal. It's no me giving messages, it's you physically having an hour's conversation with your loved
yeah,
one.
which makes perfect sense. Okay, my friend, we are coming to an end. So, what's
Okay.
next on the agenda for Robbie Crossan?
Well, once I finish here, I'm kind of binge watching Strange New Worlds before the new season starts. So I'm up to, I'm about halfway through season 4.
I did mean professionally, but okay.
Oh, professionally, right? Professionally, I've got an ordination coming up in 3 weeks where I'm ordaining a new deacon who's also going to be an exorcist. So they've completed their training. So I'm just finishing off the touches for that. I've got all the paperwork ready. I've dug up, I've dug out all my investments needed. And so I just keep looking in my bag to make sure I've not forgot anything.
You need a checklist, dude.
I've got a checklist, but I still think to myself, if I miss something off a checklist, so I keep going back to check.
Are you one of these people that would actually forget the checklist?
Yeah. I write down a list for Asda, go to Asda, and I've not got the list with us. So then
I've done that. I've done that before. It's so annoying.
so now what I do is I put the list on my phone on the notepads.
And then you forget your phone.
No, I don't forget the phone, but normally what happens is I delete the notepad by hitting the wrong button.
Yeah, that's just like part and parcel of like everyday life now. Okay, my friend, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm really glad that I reached out. I've definitely learned a lot tonight. All I can say is thank you, and I know it's getting pretty late there, so you have a great rest of the evening
Yep.
and enjoy Strange New Worlds.
Good.
Oh my God!
Live long and keep it creepy.
You just had to do it, didn't you? Take care, Bobby. Thanks a lot.
Good night. Bye
Bye-bye.
now. Bye everyone.